Which one do you want to start with? Knowledge or consciousness? They're very closely intertwined, but I'm curious which you guys are more interested in right now.
I think we talked about consciousness a lot. A lot.
Hmm.
Dude. Yeah. I'm good with either. I'm good
Uh,
with either.
Skylar, were you here for either the consciousness conversation or the what is truth conversation?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's just like back in the day we used to talk about consciousness a lot. Um,
Yeah.
I like talking about consciousness. I think consciousness is like always interesting. And
When I was in the village, I was like a lot of like my thought was just like I was trying to figure out like what the final form of like everything was like beyond like quarks and like atoms and everything, and I was like, oh, it's knowledge. It's got to be knowledge. And I don't know what I was thinking, but like I was just like yeah, like it's just like concepts are like the final like piece of everything. And it's just like a random thought. It's just like I don't know if there's like any literature at all related to that, like or like any like theories or science on like the base form of everything, but um yeah, for some reason I was just convinced. I'm like, yeah, like the final piece of it is just it's knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, anyway, that's just random side tangent. I'm
No,
gonna talk
no.
about either. Like,
It's interesting because there actually is like quite a bit of early philosophy on that specifically. So there's kind of
yeah,
two schools of thought. There's the idealists, which believe like the base form is concepts. Everything is a concept, and then
yeah,
matter, material, reality creates
yeah.
through those concepts. Like it's channeled through, it's funneled kind of into specific
Kind of
forms.
like the old like Greek philosophers where they were talking about like the whole there's building blocks for like horses and
Yeah,
like
like
kind of what that
water's
like
an
the horse.
element.
Yeah, it's like a concept. I was listening to like this. I don't know if you've heard of this book called like Sophie's World. Um, it's just like an intro to philosophy. Like I haven't done any like actual. Like, I was trying to do like the cons like metaphysics of reality,
Uh,
and but I was like listening to it as an audiobook, and I just like I was trying to do two X speed as well. I cannot follow along, so I just got an easier book. This was just like going through like the history of philosophy, and like the different like philosophers and what they thought. Like a lot of like the older like Greek philosophers that like after they like thought of like water as an element and like fire as an element, it's like I think it was like Socrates or whatever was like thinking of like um yeah like concepts of just things, and then like you have like the concept of a horse in your mind, and there's like I'll have to reread it. I kind of forgot like that part. But yes,
like
yes,
like essences of things.
mm,
yeah, like you you have an idea of what a horse should be, and at like some like lower level as well, there's like the building blocks of a horse, and like the building blocks of a horse is like it's like slightly different than like the building blocks of a human. Like there's like some shared building blocks, but like at some level they like diverge. Um, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think I remember what you're talking about from my philosophy class. It was either Plato or Aristotle, but
Yeah,
they had this perfect idealized version
mm,
of everything, and
yeah,
they said that this exists and that are real. It exists in the world of forms. I think that's what it was called, our
yeah,
forms,
yeah,
and that
yeah.
everything in our reality are just imperfect versions of these perfect forms.
yeah,
Right, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you like use an example of like the cookie dough. Like the cookie mold will like be the perfect shape of the horse, and like each cookie is like gonna be a little off, but you can look at it and you'll be like, yeah, that's a horse cookie, even if it's like kind of malformed here and there. Yeah, interesting.
yeah.
It's interesting. A lot of like the earlier philosophers were very focused on like what is the true nature of reality. Um,
Yeah,
I think it's called like teleology or something. They wanted to find that final end to reality, to everything. And as time progressed, like past the Greeks, from what I remember, a lot people stopped focusing on that, and there was a big move to focus on what we could actually like rationally see and deduce from the world around us, and then work our way up instead of working our way down. So, and now it's interesting because now we have like string theory and like philosophies at a much more advanced stage that now we're kind of getting to the point where you can look either way and kind of make some progress either way, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Makes a lot of sense.
it refers back to kind of what we were discussing last time, right? Top down versus bottom up thinking. Like science is bottom up. You get data, observations, you come to conclusions. Philosophy is top down. You have your conclusions and then you apply it to reality. And you need both ultimately, otherwise you can't move anywhere in science without making hypotheses and then testing those hypotheses, right? So you need philosophy to create the hypotheses. You need science to confirm them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it is interesting, Skylar, that you kind of came to that idea that the ultimate state was forms. That's something I've I've always heard of it, but I never really kind of internalized it like that. I'm curious why you kind of thought of that.
Oh, one second.
So I was like thinking about like how like what energy was.
Mm.
It's like I have like all these like concepts of like
Can you bring it up?
it's like let's see. I'm just guessing at what I was thinking when I was
Sure.
like like I was thinking about like my dog for example. It's like she's a concept in my head. And like
Oh, yeah.
like she's I guess it might have like some relationship to like quantum physics or like whatever because she's only real when I look at her.
Mm.
And like the way I process her information, like she's not like real like her my concept of her is based off of, like my eyeballs like taking in light and like my like sense of smell and whatever my brain like kind of processes that however it
Mm.
wants. But um, it's just like I guess like okay, here's something. I've like it's kind of okay, kind of unrelated but kind of related is like what is like the smallest bit of information? Like is the thought of Rishi in my head is that like just in terms of like I guess like mass, is that thought larger or smaller than like a string or like a cork or whatever? Like
Mm.
basically
Definitely.
like definitely larger, yeah, probably. 'Cause,
I
like
mean,
or is it?
Well, I'd say it's like a if you define it as like neurons
Is there
firing, right? It's particular
yeah,
neurons.
like yeah, obviously if it's like the electrons and neurons firing, but like is just like the idea like does the idea of Rishi take up space?
I see what you
Like does
mean.
it like
Like where is it held? Like if it's the electrons, where on the electrons, and then like can you go deeper than that? And is there like a pure thought? I think I see what you mean. Is that what you're getting at?
yeah. It's like and it was kind of okay. It's like so it's like kind of related to just like a random thing I like was asking I think a Moog or something. It's just like does your phone get heavier if I download something off the internet, does my phone get heavier? Like obviously like it won't get noticeably heavier, but like will it get just like the tiniest percentile just heavier if I like down like if I open up a new link in Safari? Um you know what I'm saying?
I think it's just electrons moving from one register to another, right? So it should
So probably
unless you're downloading it from another source
like if you look at it from like particles, right? Is there any new particles being introduced?
to the phone.
like
Hmm.
obviously
Wait.
nothing's like leaving or entering, but so I guess not. I guess not. Like I guess I'm just asking like does information like have
Mass.
any like yeah like any tangible like thing at all like any mass any like substance or is it just like I don't know. It's kind of low key. This is like a pothead conversation. I don't know. Like, yeah.
I'd say it's the
I don't know if
arrangement of mass though, right? Right? Because like take your brain, when you store memories in your brain, it's not like a single neuron that stores the memory. It's a collection of neurons that fire in like a specific pattern. And then if they fire in a different pattern, that's a different memory. So like this one fires, it's the memory of Skylar. This one fires, memory of Kyle, you know? But I don't I think maybe it's the pattern of those bits, those the transistors in your phone that fire at the same time for that link, I think that changes as you add
Yeah,
more links, right? Like more patterns
yeah,
get created.
yeah,
But then
Yeah, I
I
think
understand.
you raise
Yeah,
a good
sorry,
question,
Andrew.
like what is information when you really boil it down, and then how much can you have, at any particular thing?
Yeah, Kyle, what were you gonna say?
well, Skelly, you're kind of asking like, can an idea exist um without mass, right? Just this idea being purely this idea. And
Yeah, or
I
like,
don't, at
right.
least like from what we know, I don't think these ideas can exist without someone being there to observe it. And when there is that observer contains mass, and when it interacts with this idea, it's like updated in that observer. That's kind of how I view it.
Mm. Yeah,
Like,
like maybe there's some relationship to quantum
I think
physics.
there is. There
Also,
has to be.
yeah. Also, just a random thing. Like, I feel like what what are the chances that we're just in a simulation and like the fact that things don't load in until we observe them is because it's just like computationally less expensive to like do lazy loading, you know?
Like
Like how
Minecraft.
yeah, like or like anything, like in like any like even in websites, right? Like I don't load in like all the pages, I just load in the current page that I'm on. Like um yeah, so like we don't have to load in what's behind me unless I'm looking at it, you know. And like the thing that's behind my head, like this part of the wall that's behind my head doesn't have to be loaded in for anyone because like no one is observing it. Um yeah, I don't know. It's just a random thought. Yeah.
I mean, I think that could be plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I was like, yeah, I don't have you has that thought crossed your mind before?
yeah,
I
for
did,
me, yeah.
Yeah.
when I saw
Yeah, I
Minecraft
feel
and I
like
started playing Minecraft, it kind of came.
really. Yeah.
Like
So
not,
weird.
it's pretty weird, yeah. But I mean, I guess the question though is how could you kind of determine that? I don't know if you could find a way to determine that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I don't think we're at the place where we're like scientifically able to like prove anything about that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, like, yeah, people will be studying quantum physics all the time, and like, it's like, yeah, it's a part of reality that things just are there and are not there. So yeah,
Yeah, I think the hard part is determining what an observer even is, because it
yeah,
doesn't have to be us, right? Like we can look out in the stars and see that an object is being influenced by a larger object that exists, but we're not observing that larger object.
Mm.
So
yeah.
how does it exist without anything we know of life observing it?
That's a good point. Does observation mean consciousness? Like, what is an observer?
I feel like yeah, it's got to be like I think that's probably like all very closely tied together, right? Like a rock. Okay, so let's say okay, so let's say there's like a rock resting on top of a mountain. Um, and no one's looking at the rock or the mountain.
Mm.
And the mountain, and let's assume that the mountain doesn't need to exist if no one's observing it. Um, and no one is like there to look at it except for the rock because the rock needs the mountain to be there because it needs to like have something there to like rest on. So it's like it's like interacting with the mountain, but also the rock could also just be part of the system that doesn't need to be observed.
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, like, I guess yeah, and we could be part of the system that's like also like we're just things firing in our heads, right? Like electrons firing and like carbon atoms and whatever. Like I don't know where we draw the line between us and the rock, and like I don't know like why we would be qualified as an observer and the rock would or wouldn't be.
Hmm.
And then if you like think that it's like then everything is just observing everything, right? Like um even if no one's ever looking at the wall behind me, like the air particles bouncing off the wall need to observe it to like continue bouncing. So the wall has to exist. So like everything has to like I feel
Well,
like everything has to exist. Yeah. Yeah.
maybe
Do you get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. Maybe like
Yeah.
I'll clarify the question a bit. Like, let's take the double slit experiment, for example. You
Yeah.
fire photons through a slit, through
Yeah.
two slits, and even if you fire one photon at a time, technically they go through two slits at once because the interference pattern shows that it's waves. But if you try to measure which slit it goes through, then it just creates two beams on the wall. Kyle, do you know what experiment I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so in that scenario, there's no like human consciousness observing it, right? It's I mean, there is kind of human consciousness observes it as a wave on the wall, right? They don't observe which slit it goes through. They just observe the final result. But then observing which slit it goes through is what causes it to become a certain state. But when humans observe which slit it goes through, it's not the humans itself that are observing the slit. It's the recording device that's observing it and interacting with the particles. So then
Yeah.
the question is, does the observing device, is that what plays a role in collapsing the state?
Do they know the answer to that? So it's not the human that causes
We don't
like
know.
the
We
either
have
like
no
the
idea.
wave to collapse. Because we can't observe it without like the device. Like we physically just like can't see it.
Yeah.
Um. Uh,
And they've tried a bunch of tricks to get around it, but it seems like information is the key here. Like when you get too much information, when you see which slit it goes through, it collapses and you don't get the other piece of information. So theoretically, if we had a perfect mechanism that didn't influence it, and we put two recording devices here, we could see it pass simultaneously through both slits, right? But there is no perfect device like that. And the universe wants to, like, I don't know, uphold the conservation of information. So it only passes through one slit when we see it. But then, if we don't have a recording device and we assume that and we see it, the pattern on the wall showing that it has to have passed through both slits at the same time, we kind of have to guess, right? So,
yeah.
like, either way, it's like conserving information.
Yeah. Dude.
I
Yeah.
thought I thought maybe like if electrons function like a wave, that if they interact with anything, they have to sort of choose a spot, like choose one of the two splits. But they are always interacting with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like even in that double slit experiment, they're still passing through the slits, like they're
Mm-hmm.
interacting with the other atoms as a wave. Like how does
Mm-hmm.
that even work? Crazy.
Exactly. It's weird, right? Because they are always interacting. So the question is like, what causes their interaction to collapse and what causes it to just continue as a wave? Some think it's consciousness. Like there are some researchers who actually genuinely think it's consciousness that causes it to collapse.
I
Just
mean,
like
maybe
uh,
sorry, maybe it's just because we're trying to put our human understandings on this concept when we're just not able to understand. And in reality, it's going through both slits, but we just don't have the uh, devices
But it changes.
to
Like
see that.
on the other wall, it changes the pattern. So like you'll see it look like have you seen like the kind of like the interference patterns caused by uh like I'll show you. I'll put it in the chat. Uh, okay, so like this pattern, you'll see, like we tried this in our physics class once. It's pretty crazy. Like you'll see this pattern,
Are you sharing your screen right now?
huh?
Are you sharing your screen right now?
Oh no, I was just here in the chat right here.
I see, I see, I see.
So you see this pattern right here, like the bottommost one. You see that if you don't measure, if you send one photon at a time, even just one photon at a time, this pattern will show up on the other wall. And then if you try to put a recording device over one of the slits, suddenly that pattern doesn't show up anymore. Now it's just two kind of dots on the other wall. So it physically
Yeah,
changes on the other wall.
yeah.
Interesting.
It's like it knows. It's
That
like it knows that we are watching it.
that's crazy. And it's interesting to me too. It looks like the electron, the data from the electrons is, or is it electrons?
You can use
Yeah.
both photons and electrons.
Okay, but it's like concentrated in the center, and then it's spread. It's diluting as it goes further out. So it seems like it's in a defined area that these slits are um kind of confined to. It's not
What
like
do you
it's
mean?
limitless, but
Oh, I see what you mean. Like it's not everywhere all at once.
yeah, like even when the electrons are acting uninterfered, it's still defined by something. Like it's still in this select region.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
remember reading about.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just was gonna say that there are a lot of people do think that when you consider like a wave function of a object or of a particle, it is everywhere at once. Like it takes all possible paths. There was like a good Veritasium video on this, but like they basically talk about how every particle takes all possible paths. Um, and one of the things that you noticed right there was that the light concentrates in particular spots. So there are paths that is more likely to take, but there's very, very like infinitesimally small probabilities it takes a completely different path. Like it goes around the
Inter-
universe and comes back.
yeah, I've heard about that before. I heard when you take like college level quantum mechanics and stuff, it's so much like probability just because you have to understand like where these particles are likely to be, even though you can't tell anything for sure. But
Yeah.
it's not like interesting. They could be infinite, huh? Infinite directions.
It's an equally spread distribution. Just like zeros basically across the board because it is infinite. Um, and just yeah, I think one of my friends who took one of those classes was like telling me about it. Um, yeah.
Wait, so the electrons though they can move in any direction, but can they move at infinite speed? Because if they can be anywhere, like they could go through the slit and then like turn around and go 3,000 years that way.
Mm-hmm.
But at a point, it's going to reach past the speed of light, right? So is the possibility for it to be at a certain time defined within that like zone?
I actually don't know that one. That's a really good question.
We need to use Clue. We need to get like an AI in this conversation to like answer these questions.
Yeah, let's do some cluey.
Yeah.
That's a really good. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
It's like something to do with like it's like same thing how like superposition like you can sorry not quantum entanglement. It's like it can just like the particle can just like teleport from like one place to another. And it's like definitely breaking the speed of light, but it's not at the same time because it's just like teleporting. So it's like
Yeah, that's crazy too.
uh,
Dude, everything we know about quantum mechanics just breaks
It's
down
crazy.
everything we know about reality.
It's
yeah,
like
like
magic.
intuitive.
Yeah.
It's just intuitively it just doesn't make sense, but like yeah,
And it's crazy
yeah,
because that's fundamental to our reality, like that is what, when we break it down, that's what is there. Which is kind of crazy to think
yeah.
about. Einstein, he didn't like quantum mechanics when it first was proposed.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
because
like
general relativity does not work well with it. God does not play
Played
dice.
that, you know.
You
But
know.
it's interesting because I think from the particle's perspective, because it's going the speed of light, like a photon, uh, nothing else moves for it. Like if you were going at the speed of light, you would have no experience of time, right? So I don't know. Maybe it shoots across the universe and comes back and doesn't go past the speed of light. But it's a good question. It's a good question. But more generally, kind of, what do you think defines knowledge in that case? And is consciousness needed to kind of concretize knowledge? Because if the particle is in two places at once, is it actually in two places at once, or is it just us who, like you were saying, Kyle? Is it just us who kind of can't wrap our heads around it? I think it's helpful. I think it's helpful to go back to like a simpler kind of definition of knowledge, which is like, let's say knowledge is like patterns in our brain. Like we create certain patterns, like how numbers work. That's a piece of knowledge. Like we know how numbers work. Those are certain patterns. Those are symbols, and then we use other symbols, and then our brain associates like some symbol, like the addition symbol, and like like a number one, and we associate that whenever one and the addition and one comes, it'll equal like two. It's a bunch of patterns that we associate together. And then when we look around too, we associate things into patterns. So like roads and electrical systems and sewage, we all group those into infrastructure, right? So all of the knowledge we have is kind of just patterns that we see around reality. Then the question becomes, is that actually knowledge, or is that how humans kind of order the universe into knowledge that we can understand?
Yeah, I feel like because I was just thinking about like going back to like a simple example, like for example, like does a rock contain knowledge? And I feel like yes, because like if you like just look at the scuff marks that it has, like that's like information about you know what it collided with.
Mm.
Um, like yeah, I feel like yeah, consciousness and like knowledge are like probably just the same thing to be honest. Like
Mm.
I feel like almost like if you can contain knowledge, like you're probably conscious. Because like at least like I feel like my definition of consciousness is like being able to interact and like be interacted with, like influence your surroundings, right? And
Mm.
like a rock can influence its surroundings because like someone could trip over it, um, or like whatever, right? So like, and at the same time, the rock can also contain information because it can like like be interacted with. So like even the position of the rock is like information about like what previously happened to it because if the position changes, like something had to have interacted with. So yeah, I feel like knowledge and consciousness are probably just the same thing, or like they're like having the ability to have knowledge is the same thing as like being conscious.
In your definition, would everything be conscious?
Yeah,
Is
with
it like
differing levels of
separate? Oh, okay, interesting.
yeah.
And where do
So
you
like
draw like?
I would be more conscious than like a dog because I can um like have a greater level of like influence on my surroundings and like a greater level of like uh, possibilities of like responses to things. Um, Even like obviously and then you get into the whole question like is like everything predetermined? Like assuming things aren't predetermined, like I have like someone slaps me, I have like more like a greater set of responses than like maybe a dog does, right?
Yeah.
But then like a dog is more conscious than like a goldfish, and a goldfish is more conscious than like like a germ, and then but like also, and then like maybe like under that like system, right? Like maybe um an entire forest is like more conscious than me, or like the storm cloud is more conscious than me because it's
Mm.
exerting a greater amount of influence on the surroundings or something. Like, yeah, so like I have like a very poorly defined version of consciousness, but it's like loosely like that, where it's like
Would each
yeah,
neuron in your brain be conscious to like some degree?
yeah, I think so then. Yeah, like I think even like
Where does yours
air
stop then?
part.
Like
I
where
don't think
does
it ever stops. Like, I think it would like drill down all the way to like the lowest level of like whatever. And like that would just be like the lowest level of consciousness, but it would still be conscious, you know.
yeah.
Because it could still interact and like interface with like other parts of just everything. So it's like if it can like perceive and like it is like or like yeah, I'll always just go back to the rock. Like the rock can like perceive things happening to it, or else like if I kicked it and it didn't move, then it wouldn't perceive something, right? But like as long as it can like be interacted with, like it's conscious in my opinion. Yeah.
Huh.
So yeah, it's probably the same thing as like knowledge. Then it's like if anything can contain knowledge, like if anything can contain knowledge, like just some piece of information, then it's conscious.
Wait, but then that assumes like determinism, right? Like if the rock has a bunch of scratches on it and you can trace back the scratches of the rock, that assumes that like everything is deterministic and that it holds that knowledge because everything is deterministic, right?
I don't know if that's like true. Like we like I don't have to like be able to like trace back to like the beginning of the time to like know that like something happened to like that like that's information like at least like something happened to the rock, right? Like I don't need to like
Mm.
be able to deduce the fact that like the rock skipped like 3 steps and then bounced like 2 steps and then
Yeah.
before it like rolled a bit. Like I just know that like there's scuffs on it and that's like enough information. Probably. But that maybe that breaks down at the quark level or something or like the string level
Do you
where it's
think there
like
is determinism
now
though, or it's like free will?
it's all dependent on like if quantum physics is real or not, I think. Yeah, like I I used to be a believer of like determinism, and then I like did a little bit of reading on quantum physics. I'm like, well, yeah. I mean, if there's, weren't you telling me about something about like how like the first object or like, what is it like the great? It was also in like the philosophy book, which like there has to be like some
Immovable
origin
mover?
of like yeah the immovable mover. Yeah, is that like something to do with that's something to do with determinism, right?
Yeah, it's like
Um,
if you take everything as deterministic, then eventually there's something to set everything off. And that thing couldn't have been caused by anything.
yeah,
Mm. So that thing like decided itself, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And Aristotle kind of argues the only thing that can do that is something with desire. Because desire is the only thing that doesn't already have a cause, but it reaches for a cause. Like if you're in love, for example, there's no like cause that tells you to go, get the beloved, but the idea of getting the beloved drives you. It's like the future. It's the purpose drives you instead of something pushing you. You're being pulled towards
yeah,
it instead of pushed. Everything else has been
yeah,
pushed by some other thing. The movable mover is pulled, not pushed.
yeah.
But what was your point, Skylar?
Just that like if quantum physics is real, and like if like let's say like I don't know how like I don't know anything about quantum physics basically, but like let's just say like this water bottle is just like doing all sorts of crazy things until like I look at it and suddenly like just snaps back into shape. But like it was like and then like I look away and I look back, right? Like every time it's like snapping back into shape
Yeah.
at like a different part of its like craziness. Um so it's just like like
Wait, but
that probably has an effect on like other things.
oh,
Like it's
so
like
do you think the water bottle will be changed after that, like slightly changed?
I don't know how quantum physics works. Maybe, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like it's just like I was like a maybe like I was just trying to come up with an example of like I mean yeah, just like non-deterministic like I mean yeah, sure, like I mean the electrons in my brain's like if it is just like a random like set of probabilities on like how they move,
Mm.
then like I could just randomly decide to like just scream something that would get me canceled online, and I have no control over it aside from the fact that like there's other parts of my brain that are probably firing at the same time like to stop me from it, and unless like every like particle randomly jump to like the racist like setting all at once, then like it's like on average, right? Like I'm still gonna be at like the non-racist setting. Like sometimes there'll be like a spike, but like everything else is still gonna stay like normal or like stay like very anti-racist. But like if everything jumps at once
Yeah.
and it would all happen randomly and that possibility is like basically zero, then I would just like scream something racist really loud. But like so I think it probably is random. I think there's like some level of non-determinism to things. But also maybe we only think quantum physics is true because we don't know enough. Like maybe and I feel like yeah, like probably that like, just saying, well, things could be and they could not be. Like it's not a good enough explanation. Like
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's maybe it is this ground source truth, but I think it's like, still just like the same thing as like saying like God exists or like, whatever is like it's just it's like a hand wavy thing almost. It's like it's just because we can't actually explain like what's going on under the hood. Yeah. So in conclusion, I don't know. I don't know. Could be deterministic, could not be.
Same.
What do you think, Kyle?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. I never read that paper that you sent about the possibility of free will. Could you recap that one more time?
Orchestrated objective reduction. That one.
I think it was a couple months ago where for a while you thought like no way there's free will, like that doesn't make sense, but then you changed and you're like, wait, this could be legit.
Yeah. Sure. So basically, the idea is that um, so there's a couple things. One is that so this guy Roger Penrose, he's like this famous quantum physicist. He thought of this idea, uh, objective reduction, which is basically trying to answer the question, how does the wave function collapse? No one really knows. That's what we were talking about before, right? We don't know what causes it to collapse, what observation is. We don't know any of this. So he proposed that the wave function explores all possible paths at once. It goes through the future, like it explores all these paths, and then in some future time, it determines which one is most gravitationally stable. Basically, how he describes it is like imagine a bunch of Earths kind of exploring like a bunch of different paths, and they all have gravity, right? They all influence each other, and eventually they're going to come to like a meeting point. They're all going to kind of collapse on each other, and that's the collapsing point of the wave function. But he argues it doesn't collapse that future time; it sends that information back in time to the earlier instance, and in that earlier instance, therein also influences the future instance. So basically, what he's saying is that like future influences past, and because future influences past, it raises into the question determinism. Because determinism is all about cause and effect, right? There has to be a set past moment that creates a future moment. That future moment creates another future moment. But as soon as you have future movements interacting with past moments, um, it throws off the causal link, right? You can't say that this caused this because this is also causing this, and it just kind of loops, and everything loops, and it's nothing actually causes the other thing. Everything is looping all at once, right? So there's no actual time. Time is like condensed into a point. So uh, that is kind of how it breaks down determinism. But then orchestrated objective reduction, like the orchestrated part, is about the idea that there's these small things called microtubules in our brain, which are like uh, these really tiny kind of vessels that are small enough to hold quantum interactions stably. And there's this anesthesiologist who came along and proposed, he saw the objective reduction paper and proposed the idea that maybe the microtubules in our brain are holding those small quantum interactions, and those are influencing our brain. And so the wave function itself, all the everything in the wave function across the universe, that is what is influencing our brain, and that is what we call consciousness. Uh, and then the kind of extension of that is that perhaps the wave function does have free will because we don't know how it collapses, right? Could be gravity, could be some other thing. We don't know. But objective reduction states that there is the possibility it's not determinism because future can influence past as well. So then, if there is something that influences the wave function, something that we don't know, that could be a case for free will. It's not an individual free will, it's like a universal level free will because it's the wave function itself that has free will. But it just basically gives us a point against determinism.
Okay. But with the second theory, could that not scale up to human level consciousness and free will? Because, I mean, I was talking about this with Max,
Mm.
and I was saying, like, we as humans don't have free will, but there could be the possibility of universal free will. We just don't know yet. And then he said, well, who are we, right?
Mm.
And like our true nature as like decision makers, is it this human or is it the universe itself? Right? Like with the second theory that there's the quantum mechanics going inside our brain itself, like could that not be considered like us, coming together and making those decisions?
It could be.
We're all just puppets being controlled by some larger free will.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like I lean more towards that because kind of the wave function is all encompassing. It's spread out through the universe. I mean everything.
Mm.
I mean like each particle like has a wave component, and those are all interacting, and it creates like this giant homogeneous wave function, and then that's what we call the wave function. And then if that is influencing our brain, it is kind of like what Skylar's saying, like puppets.
Yeah, puppets. But it's also us, like the universe itself.
Yeah. It's like limbs.
It's just
like
can't really see or understand what the universe is actually trying to do.
Kind of like what they thought like before, like Einstein did like general relativity. Is like there's this like massive like there's like a veil that's like neither takes up any like space nor any like mass, but it's like everything. It's like controls gravity, controls like everything. It's like kind of like that, but it's just just like the wave function, I guess that like.
Wait, I'm curious. What is this? Wait, this veil thing?
This veil thing. It's like basically like physicists like before Einstein had like general like relativity. In order to like explain like gravity, explain like the speed of light, explain like photons as well, they apply this like universal constant kind of thing where it's like it's just like always like it's always there. It's like it acts on like objects and like gravity, right? So like pulls things down. It like controls like actually no, it doesn't control the speed of light because like Einstein was the one who like came up with the universal like speed limit. But I mean honestly, dude, I just hate audiobooks because I love them because it's so low effort, but I hate them because I forget everything after I listen to it. It was in Einstein's like biography by Walter Isaacson. It was talking about like how basically like there's just it was like kind of just like the way to explain why physics was the way it was, right? Like why light behaved the way it does, like why gravity behaves the way it does, but it wasn't like perfect, and I forget why. And so Einstein like said, "Fuck it, I'm gonna come with my own theory." So I
gotta love that guy.
Yeah.
What? Yeah, he's so good. So good. Yeah. Have you guys read that book?
No. I want to though. You said it was really good, right?
It is a really good book. It's like also just a very nice story. Like, in general, like I think a lot of the books are like very like the ones that Walter Isaacson write are like very like just like whatever field you're trying to get better at. Like for Steve, like I like did Steve Jobs' book, right? Cause when I was like doing like dough like by myself, and all of a sudden I like started to care about like product design, so I like focused a lot more on that. I think I got a lot better at it. Just like to like hear like Steve Jobs' like own like internal like just like the way how he obsessed over design, and then like for Albert Einstein's Elon Musk was kind of just like, I didn't really get many takeaways other than like he's like genius, crazy guy. Um, I guess for him it was like more of just like learn to be like tough on yourself or whatever.
Mm.
Um, but for like for Albert Einstein, it was I mean, it was very like educational and like just the history of physics and like how things even work because like they went into like a decent amount of detail explaining like relativity and like how he came to um how he came to that like theory, how like the thought processes and like that experience that he had, other people's arguments against it. Even like when quantum mechanics first came up, we went through like Albert Einstein's whole like debates against it, as well as his attempts to reconcile relativity and quantum mechanics. But it's also just a good story. Like it goes through their lives. It like takes like very narrative. So it's a nice read and it's pretty educational. Yeah, so I like it. Like definitely like there's like a lot more entertaining books and there's all like also a lot more information like dense books. But this is like a kind of in the middle of the two. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I think the best informational books are entertaining too.
True.
Yeah.
Like in the
Definitely.
middle. Like they gotta have both.
Yeah. The only thing is it's very long. It's like it took me like 22 hours to like listen through it. But yeah, I would just like listen when I was like this is when I was in New York. I would just like listen when I was like riding in the subway or like just walking around. Yeah.
It's a long book though, 22 hours. Oof.
Speaking
Yeah. I
of
think it's
books,
yeah.
ChatGPT keeps recommending one. What was it? Girdle Escher Bach, An Eternal Golden Braid. It like over and over. It keeps saying this book. I
I've
haven't
heard
read
of
it. It
it.
seems really.
I
I think
heard
I've
You
of
never
also
it.
heard
heard
of
of it.
it? You
I
have?
was like I was asking ChatGPT for like I'm trying to get into philosophy. Give me like a list of recommendations. I think that was one of them. Like on like the more like scientific like sides of philosophy.
Let me ask it real
Who's
quick.
it by? Oh, is it by
But
Jeanette Levin? No.
no, by Douglas Hofstadter.
Huh.
Wait, Bach as in Yosha Bach or Bach as in someone else?
Yeah, the composer.
Let me quick look.
Um,
Oh, Bach.
It's about
so
like
Bach as in
madness or something. It's kind of crazy. That's what I think I heard it on the Jeanette Levin podcast, like Lex Friedman podcast with her. She mentioned it and she said like these guys were like they went mad or something and it's interesting. Yeah, I heard some great stuff about it. You should read it.
yeah, ChatGPT says it's about it combines a lot of different disciplines, right? Because Gödel was the math guy. Escher was like this artist who drew a lot of optical illusion type stuff, and then Bach was the musician guy. Um, the author apparently combines ideas from all three of them in order to describe what is it saying? How consciousness, intelligence, and meaning emerge from self-referential systems.
Hmm.
What does self-referential mean?
It can identify itself and change according. So like your brain, your default mode network is self-referential because it can think about itself. Um, if you have a function uh uh like x, say you have like a set that is called x, and x equals in colon a 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma x end colon. So X is part of its own set, so it's self-referential. You see?
Okay.
yeah. Wait, guys, I have to dip to another meeting. Like, I'm sorry, but
Yeah, no worries.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. Wait, yeah. This is fun. I miss talking about this. Wait, yeah. I won't hijack the. Rishi, are you coming to Palo Alto anytime soon or no?
Dude, I leave on Monday. I wish I could, but I leave on Monday.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. All
Yeah.
right. Best of luck in Penn, though, dude. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. I think you're gonna go crazy once you take like the science classes. You're gonna have like I don't know how much you read up already and like how much you have, but I feel like a lot of the mathematical parts of like it might like just it's gonna go so hard.
I hope
It
so,
goes
man.
so hard.
Dude, I finished the book,
I
by the
guess
way.
so.
I'm gonna send you a copy. I finished it.
Oh really? Okay, dude. Yeah. Okay. Huge. Okay, I'm actually very excited for that.
I think you'll like it. I think
Wait.
you'll like it.
Okay. I'll
Wait,
definitely
is
read it.
anyone else there?
In this area?
Yeah.
No, just me. Just
Oh,
me.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
say hi to them
Um.
and Good
Yes,
seeing you.
yes. Cool. Yeah, nice to see you as well. Nice to meet you face to face. You saw me last time. I saw you this time for the first time,
Yeah.
Kyle. Yeah, nice to see you guys. Bye bye.
See you. Venture forth.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah,
Well,
you're gonna. It's gonna be insane. Like talking to you like 4 years from now with how much knowledge I feel like you're gonna have. It's,
you say that, but I think it's gonna be more like neuroscience based because I feel like I'm gonna dive a lot deeper into neuroscience, but the rest of the subjects I have like a decent grasp on. Uh, but I'm mostly gonna focus my attention on neuroscience, you know. So it's gonna be like very hardcore neuroscience.
okay, so the actual courses you're taking are like a side note.
Yeah.
Yeah, electrical engineering. You got a good grasp on that. That's
As long as I
crazy.
don't electrocute myself.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Let me call Colin really quick to see where he's at. He's gonna join as
Okay,
well.
bet.
All right, I think he should join soon. But yeah, it's interesting. I think it's interesting topics. Interesting topics. Yeah. What have you been up to, by the way, Kyle? Hello? Can you hear me?
You can.
Hello? Kyle, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Oh, really? How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
That whole time you were trying to
Yeah,
talk
I
to
was
me?
trying to talk.
Yeah, I saw you like looking around. I was like, what is this guy doing? Wait, so Rishi, are you going to Penn mostly for Wharton then?
No, I'm going
Like for
mostly for
the
like yeah, for Wharton and then also just like research because I'm working with like this lab, right? That I've been working with for a little bit
yeah.
and I can do my neurotech stuff there. So
Okay, so that's cool. So that you've already got like the setup to build your input device.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
When do you think you'll make that?
I'm hoping within the next 2 years, 1 to 2 years. Like
Next
ideally
2 years.
ideally by the end of this year I can. Uh I'll be basically
Damn.
doing it at like full steam. Like classes and everything are like very much a second thought. The question is like the how far can I go? So I'm predicting 1 to 2 years, and then it'll
What do
be
you mean? How
over.
far you?
Like how fast I can go, basically. Like how much the science has already kind of. I
Okay.
can yeah.
Are you gonna? How polished do you think the first version will be that you release to the public?
Not very polished.
No.
It'll basically just be to like the universalists and like hobbyists and stuff. You know, it'll be like a device where basically you put on this little, a couple of little electrodes. They have like a little, um, it's called a BAM. It's a binary acoustic metasurface. Like it's basically like what allows you to correct for skull attenuation for like, when the signal travels to the skull through the skull, it loses power. It gets dampened. But this corrects for that, so it doesn't happen. And so it'll basically be like a transducer with that, and then on the other side will be something that reads it. And then when it reads the signal go through the skull, it'll change the BAM in order to make it so that the signal is strengthened and it can precisely locate, the neurons in your brain that is firing. And so it'll probably just be that, and people will it'll basically maybe be a software where you can simulate a brain on your computer and then choose like specific points and like kind of program it to like stimulate parts of your brain.
Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so cool. So it's basically like a big like speaker or magnifying device for your brain waves. It sounds
It's like a
really
big input device. Like imagine like you had a bunch of electrodes, or you had like a bunch of like lasers, and they're all like shooting in your brain, and then you could like stimulate certain neurons. It's like that.
Oh, so other way
It's not
around.
reading;
Okay.
it's
Yeah.
writing into the brain. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna be really, and you're gonna be like the first person
Yeah,
probably to release this
there's
stuff.
nothing out there, man. There's like nothing out
Because
there.
like even Neuralink, I heard is like stuck behind a bunch of regulation. Like they're doing a bunch of medical stuff.
Yeah. The good thing about ultrasound is that it's less regulated because it's not invasive.
Hmm.
I've heard from some there's this ex Neuralink guy who was telling me that like ultrasound is not regulated by the FDA. It is, but it's not regulated as much. So like, theoretically it could be better. Um, yeah, we'll see. As long as I don't make any medical claims and I give it just for research purposes, and it technically is I just have to submit like a 501k, like just like an FDA uh,
Yeah.
clearance thing, but no big long lengthy trials or anything. I mean, because trials they test for effectiveness, right? They test the effect. Usually, they test like the effectiveness of a certain thing at curing something else. This is not claiming to cure anything. This is just like a a device that you can use for your own hobbies. Um, I think that'll be interesting, and I think one of the things that'll emerge is people start to try to play around with it for simulating like their default mode network, and then like getting like these odd, you know, in the village effects.
Uh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be toying around with that. Fuck, I don't know
Yeah, it's
why
interesting.
people like, oh, like you can literally like shoot things around in your brain. I don't see why more people wouldn't be playing around with that.
Yeah, it's cool.
Like this seems like such a great business to me. I don't know.
And then the second device would likely be some sort of output device. So also it inputs and then it also gets output. And it has like a visual feedback and like auditory feedback. And then there's an AI that matches all the visual components to to the output it's getting from the visual cortex. And then soon enough what you can do is remove the camera, remove the auditory input, and just be able to see what they're seeing off of just the electrodes. And then you can do like a whole lot with that. Basically, like you can start to map concepts, right? Like suppose the user picks up this book and the electrodes read that they're looking at a book. The camera, let's say there's a camera, the camera sees a book. It identifies a book. And then the the device essentially takes all of the information that it's gotten from that brain. It takes the activity that's happening in that brain. It puts like it uses that as a data point. And then let's say like 3 days later, I pick up another book. It takes that as a data point. And this, like, I keep looking at books, right? Eventually, it'll be able to isolate the specific part of my brain that deals with the concept book. And that goes for anything, right? We learn through visuals and through auditory stimulation, right? So let's say language acquisition, for example. How do babies learn language? Well, they're looking at a certain thing like a book. Their parent goes book, and then they repeat book, And every single time they look at a book, their parent repeats book. Every single time they look at something, it's repeated. You're basically what the baby is doing is they're associating that symbol, the acoustic symbol, that sound, with a semantic meaning. And the semantic meaning is something in their visual frame. And so if you can have, there he is. Hello,
Hey, Colin.
Hey, wait 1 second.
hello. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Bye bye. Sorry, I was at oh man, you guys probably understand this. A family dinner, with like relatives, and it's just, it's always hard to get out. Yeah, I love them, of course, but it's just, it's like, it's just a lot of goodbyes, and, it's like, I'm kind of waiting for like the appropriate window to, head out, and, it's that sort of dance. So apologies for my tardiness, but hopefully, what were you guys talking about?
Well, we were
Which is
talking about
Dubai.
like, yeah, neurotech.
Now turn.
Oh, okay, well, that's a big surprise. Well, you guys keep going. I don't want to disrupt you.
Okay.
I'm sorry for joining.
No, you're good,
I'm
you're
smiling. I'm see what controversial stuff I need to say.
good. Well, after I finish my neurotech thought, you can join in with our consciousness discussion. I think it'll be interesting.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear your perspective. Okay, so what I was saying is that a lot of your real. So I've been thinking a lot about consciousness. Like 2 days ago, I just like thought for like a couple hours like about consciousness in preparation for this discussion. And I came to the idea that consciousness is what we were talking about self-referential thinking before, right? Consciousness is essentially, in my view, the part of your brain that updates its mental model of itself based on its reality. So your brain is a mental modeling agent, right? Like it takes your reality, it creates mental models. You use these models to interact. So I make models of language, I make models of people's behavior, I make models of everything. And there's a part of your brain that makes models of itself. And that's important because it must make a model of itself to know how it can continue to survive, right? Because the best possible actions you can take as a person are the ones that you have already done because those have already kept you alive, right? So let's say there was a famine 5 years ago, and to help, keep myself alive, I stole some food in that famine, and then the part of my brain that models itself models myself as someone who would steal food in a famine, and then the next time a famine comes around, I do the same thing because I have used that action to stay alive. So the best possible actions you can take now to stay alive are the ones you've already taken to stay alive. So it is very crucial that our brain has that ability to model itself. And I think what consciousness is the integration of information of your environment to update that model. So it is essentially an information synthesis machine. So let's say I put on VR headset like for like 5 years. The only thing I saw was like cartoonish figures everywhere. My brain would start to interpret that as reality and shift the mental models of myself. Because to survive in that reality, it is vastly different than to survive in this reality. So my brain is constantly updating that model of myself. And when it does that, that's consciousness. And the reason I kind of came to that conclusion was because I was thinking about people who think with an internal monologue versus people who think without an internal monologue. And I very curiously, like when I was in Thailand, when I was like a monk, there was a week where I just didn't have an internal monologue. Like it switched off. And then I recognized I don't have this internal monologue. It's been a week and I usually have an internal monologue. Like I have a very strong internal monologue and now it's just gone. And then I got it to come back. But during that week, I definitely felt like my thoughts were less me. Kind of they were more kind of instinct. Um they were less deep. One, they were less analytical of the world. And what I came to the conclusion of was that essentially how you interpret reality. So I get sensory stimulus that goes through my brain. It updates the model, and then that updated model creates actions in the world, right? So it's the world goes to my mental model, goes back to the world. That's how it is. But if you have an internal monologue, that creates kind of a middle point where instead of always referencing the world and then using your internal monologue to to do actions in that world. That's the only way you can update beliefs, right? If you don't have an internal monologue, the only way you can update your beliefs is by actually interacting with the world. And I've seen this with people, like people who don't have an internal monologue will often only think about philosophy when they're talking to someone about philosophy. Um, and or writing maybe about philosophy. They have to actually interact with the world to think about it. But when you have an internal monologue, what that allows you to do is create a figment of a world in your head that's always running. You have essentially a model of the world created in text that's always running. And so you can update your internal monologue really quickly by bouncing it back and forth with you can update your model of yourself really quickly by bouncing it off the internal monologue, just constantly. You take a belief, you compare it to your internal monologue, it goes back and forth. And that is a shorter time frame, and it's a constant kind of stimuli rather than always referencing the world, always making it such that there must be some sort of stimuli in the world to think about this certain thing. So that's where it kind of came from. My thought that consciousness is a sort of an updating of that model, and that basically leads to the conclusion that if your consciousness is highly determined by your reality, right? If I wore that VR headset and my reality was that cartoonish reality, and my consciousness was a completely altered state because my reality was completely altered, that also relates to, being in the village, not taking a psychedelic. Like if everything around you is constantly shifting, then your mental model has to very quickly change. It has to adapt to this new reality that is never experienced before. So you get an altered state of consciousness because the mental model of yourself has to change in reference to this reality. So your consciousness, your state of consciousness is highly dependent on the reality around you. And then in turn, the reality around you is highly dependent on your state of consciousness or on your belief systems. Because Kyle, as you were saying, if you value something like nature, if you constantly look for the beauty in something, your attention will be more likely to be guided to those specific things. Or if you are kind of a type of person who very highly thinks about, what people think of them, they will have a vastly different conscious experience than someone who thinks about like the big picture, who's constantly like a physicist or something, who's have their head in the field, because their perception of reality is very much dependent on that big picture stuff versus the other person, their perception of reality is very uh, ingrained in that little details of what people think of me, what am I going to do tomorrow. So the conscious states are very different. And Kyle, that's just kind of what I was thinking about consciousness when you brought up the mental perception. So like your brain creates these mental perceptions of your reality, and that influences the mental model. I'm curious what you guys think about consciousness. That was my big spiel, my rant on consciousness that I was thinking about last couple days, but I'm curious what you guys think about consciousness.
Hmm. So do you think like animals,
Mm.
they have like no internal monologue? Do you think are humans the only ones that have this sort of like because animals can think of like themselves, like they can do things that
They can
support
open, yeah.
themselves,
Mm-hmm.
but do they have that monologue inside their brain? Like,
As far as we know, no. There's also humans that don't have it though. There's like a good percentage, like 20% of the population or something, that doesn't have an internal monologue.
okay, does a monologue just refer to like words specifically inside your brain?
Yeah. Like, can you say apple in your head?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Can people not?
Yeah, some
Okay,
people can't.
yeah. It actually reminds me of how of the Sapiens when he mentioned that what makes humans special is our ability to create things, to imagine things that aren't real,
Yeah.
right? To use our brains to conjure things that are not physically here, but are real inside of our brains,
Yeah.
and how we can connect those to other people's and like form a very strong shared network that other humans or other animals can't do, right? So I guess that plays into like all sorts of like everyone has a set of stories or concepts that are running in their head all the time. You know,
Yeah, and if you try to guess
and I
them,
think it's really interesting you
oh, sorry, go ahead, keep going.
try to guess them. Oh, that's a good point too, because like I remember when Max was Universalist and I wasn't, and I hung out with him all the time. People were always confused by his actions, and
Yeah.
I was always like, Max's goal in life is all cosmic knowledge. He wants to do this by creating a hive mind, by gaining knowledge, right?
Mhm.
These steps to his higher goal. But if you have this higher goal in mind, you can kind of predict what Max is going to do in any given situation, right? And what he values.
Yeah.
Like you could do that with anyone too,
Yeah.
right?
You could, yeah.
It's so cool. And I also think what you brought up was really important, that um, these mental models can be changed a lot easier than your physical surroundings can.
Yeah.
And although your physical surroundings influence your consciousness a lot, right? You can have someone that lives in the same house as you, that goes about the same daily lives as you, like me and my sister, and have like completely different worldviews.
Yeah.
I will say, me and my sister were very similar people. Um, like 2 years ago, I would say, you know, we had a lot of the same interests, like sense of humor, experiences. But since like universalism and since like psychedelics for me, and I've changed a lot. Even in the same like situations, we just think fundamentally differently now
Mm.
because like our inside models have changed.
Yeah, and I'd characterize those as different states of consciousness, right? Like the themes running through your
Yeah,
head are vastly different than the themes running through hers or someone else's, you know? And it's like
yeah,
the
yeah,
scope of those themes, I'd say.
yeah, yeah. It's like the scope of those
I'd,
things.
I'd say like if the scope of those themes is like
Oh,
very
I
large
was gonna
scale,
say,
I'd say like
then you're
if the
thinking about
scope
the
of those things.
if the scope of those themes is very large scale, then you're thinking about the world in a large context. Versus if the scope of those themes is like always, about your house, then the world just becomes your house, right? And your reality just becomes your house. So your consciousness is very confined. Versus if the scope of those themes is like the entire cosmos, your consciousness is a totally different state. Sorry, Colin, go ahead. I saw you were unmuting.
oh wow, I have so many thoughts. That was so much. I'm trying to think of my questions. One is okay. One, I have two ideas. One, I remember, I think it might have been AP Psychology in high school. There was this idea that people view themselves through a narrative, that their sense of self comes through narrative. Like we don't see ourselves, we don't see our life and ourself as kind of these series of disconnected life events, but we see it as like, I started out as a child, and then I grew up, and I went to middle school, and then I grew a little more, and went to high school, now I'm in college or doing whatever. Like, we have these kind of narrative ways of looking at life, and where we kind of like fill in the gaps with like kind of our like narrative instinct, whether that's in
Mm.
like relationships or careers, whatever. And I think that's kind of interesting. And like, usually, I think you were just talking about that with consciousness, and how you were saying like the difference between you and your sister. I think it might also have to do with just a personal narrative difference, right? Like, I think people who like, what story are you telling in your mind? Like, what story are you telling yourself? You know what I mean? Like, what kind of book are you in? And I just think that some people exist in different ones, and then thus act differently because the character in their story themselves, is different. I don't know. That's kind of interesting why I like to look at it. And the other thing was, Rishi, why did you lose your internal monologue when you were a monk? And maybe you said it earlier. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, no, I did say that. I was doing a lot of meditation, and I thought to myself, I wonder what it'd be like without an internal monologue. So I switched it off, And then, well, I tried switching it off, and it took a little bit. And then after a while, I was like, yeah, I finally got it. I got it switched off. And then I was like spent a few days like without my internal monologue, and I was like, this sucks. I'm not getting any deep thinking done. I just thought maybe without an internal monologue, your thoughts go faster, right? Like, say the internal monologue goes at the speed of speaking, right? Then you're constraining your thoughts to the speed of speaking. But what I realized, a couple of days ago was that not really. Your thoughts don't slow down. What happens is it pings off the internal monologue. Your thoughts are always racing in kind of the conceptual form. Like your thoughts are not in word form, they're in concept form, right? And I thought, okay, without an internal monologue, maybe they'll go faster. They didn't. Because my thoughts are always in concept form. They're always in concept form, constantly racing through my mind. But what the internal monologue does is it sets waypoints. It marks certain locations in that concept. In that concept, I guess I'll call it in that concept train. Like, let's say there's a train of thought, and it's a bunch of concepts just building on each other, kind of diverging paths, branches forming, etc. And when I reach a certain thing that seems important to me, I mark it with a word. And my internal monologue doesn't necessarily um, it might be just one word to mark that thing. Like, say I'm thinking about cats and like cats about their consciousness, and I think to myself, I mark a certain location in my thoughts. I say cats have consciousness, and I continue. And what that allows me to do is, at the end, it allows me to synthesize that information into something my conscious can now adapt to. So remember, your conscious only changes, in my view at least, your consciousness only your model of yourself only changes when it interacts with something based in reality. And so in the concept form, if you have a bunch of thoughts racing around your head in a concept form, that will not update your internal model. It will not update your model of yourself in any noticeable way, because those are always in concept form, right? Think about how many thoughts are going through your head. You have hundreds and thousands of thoughts going through your head. And so if those were all to try to update that model of yourself, you would just constantly be a different person. So what your brain does is it only updates that model of yourself when something physical happens, when something based in reality happens. Like if I see something, if I hear something, if any senses are touched. And that's what an internal monologue does. It reenacts the sense of hearing. Uh, and that's what, imagination does. It reenacts the sense of seeing. And so what you can do is essentially you can bounce those concepts off of the internal monologue and keep going. So I turned it off. Long story short, I turned it off. It wasn't good. It didn't help me. I turned it back on. I realized it was great because I was always, thinking that fast. It was just kind of like a way to update the mental model.
Okay, wait, I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Okay, wait, one,
Okay.
telling yourself that you turned off your internal monologue, doesn't that
Colin, I think you cut out. Hello? Yeah, but I think
Hmm.
it checks out. Like what I've seen is that a lot of people without an internal monologue think a lot less about philosophy, and I think that's because to think about philosophy, you have to be interacting with the world, right? Even if it's a world you have in your head. Like the internal monologue is a world we have in our head. It's auditory stimulation in our own head. So I think that is enough of a world that we interact with to update our beliefs.
Yeah, like just sitting like in a quiet room, you can still, change your ideas about things without seeing that change happen. Whereas I imagine if you don't have that ability, you just, I would imagine you get so bored when
Yeah.
nothing changes.
You know what I noticed? When
Jeez.
I didn't have that internal monologue for like a week, it was a lot more like content. Like I was like happy, I guess, but like it sucked.
Yeah.
It was the worst. It was like I knew I could be thinking a lot deeper. Like I knew like, man, I'm really limiting myself. It was yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were also like meditating every day. You
True.
were,
Yeah.
a monk, right?
Yeah.
I imagine a lot of people Instead of feeling that contentness, it's more of a dissatisfaction
Mm.
with when things don't change.
I'm curious though
Hmm.
what it's like to never have had an internal monologue, you know?
Yeah, I could ask my dog, but I don't think she'd say much of anything useful. Maybe, maybe with neurotech.
Hopefully. That would be cool.
Yeah. Do you think animals would provide anything that we could use uh for like knowledge purposes with neurotech?
Oh,
And kind of
definitely.
similarly, you think so?
Yeah, like a dog's sense of smell is so good. And imagine being able to incorporate that into your own mind, you know?
That's true. That's true. They have different, and like an octopus, which has its brains and its limbs. Like that would be insanely useful, I imagine,
Yeah.
just to know. Um, Kind of applying that further up, like with AI. Uh, After watching when I was watching that video I sent you, I was thinking a lot about would how would an intelligent AI view humans as like beneficial, as beings that they would want to integrate with themselves with like technology, or beings that they would want to get rid of, like noise filtering, right?
Yeah.
You know, like do humans have like unique abilities that would be useful to a super intelligent AI that they would want to keep us around?
Um, we have a couple. Um, One is that we can move. We are we were built for the natural world, right? We weren't built as brains first and bodies second. We were built as bodies first and brains second. AIs are built as brains first. And if we can get like automatons, then they're bodies second. So we have very good bodies, but that doesn't mean AI can't catch up on that front. So it could theoretically catch up there. The
Yeah.
one thing we do have over it is that we're carbon based. Carbon based organisms have a natural advantage because there's a lot more carbon in our universe than there is silicon. And in our world too,
Mm,
there's a lot of there's more metals in our world, but there's they're harder to reach. It's a lot more complicated to do all that. Versus carbon based organisms, you can just keep producing them basically. Uh, so there's that. Um, we also have an immense amount of energy efficiency in our brains, which is very useful. The kind of one thing,
Sorry, you're cutting out a lot.
really, I'll just stop this recording. Maybe give me one sec.
Okay.